8 when the war started.
Yeah.
Right? And you are 10, so I was 2 years younger than you. Right?
And how old were you when it finished?
14. 6 years after the war. We had little air raid shelters then, made of corrugated iron.
So did you have them inside your house or outside?
No, they were in the gardens, yeah, and they were called Anderson shelters, because there's chap Anderson in the government, he built them, he invented them.
Yeah, I think we heard about those in school, and that some people like to grow plants on top of the Anderson shelters.
Yeah, Aimee, yeah.
So did you have plants on top of yours?
Yeah, and there was soil on top of them, you see. But if a bomb dropped any closer to one of those, there wouldn't be any good.
No.
No, we had brick air raid shelters in the street as well, with a thick concrete top.
Yeah, so like a public one.
That's it, yeah. And of course there was no lights in those either, but we used to play in those as children. We weren't supposed to do, but we did.
Can you just explain a bit more about rationing?
Yeah, everybody had a ration book.
Yeah.
And when you went to the shop, you had these little bits of paper that were cut out as your ration for that week. So it was cut out of your book, so you couldn't use it again. Or cheat, you know. So you had your ration for that week. Meat was rationed, eggs were rationed. Vegetables were okay because a lot of people had gardens where they grew their own vegetables.
Yeah, because I heard that people were encouraged to dig for victory.
Exactly, Aimee. Dig for victory was a slogan that was encouraged people to use all their gardening to grow food. I used to have to go to the lady next door for my dinners.
Yeah.
And once a week we would have tripe and cow heel.
Did you like that?
I hated it. But I had to eat it, because if I didn't eat it, the lady next door would tell my mother, and then I'd be in trouble.
What was tripe?
It's a cow's lining of a cow's stomach.
Ugh.
Yeah, quite.
It says Heinrich and Helmut on here.
Yes.
Who were they?
Yes. Well, during the war, there was a prisoner of war camp not far from where I lived.
Yeah.
And these prisoners of war were allowed out at the weekend. They'd been captured in Europe, you see, and brought over to England, and there they stayed in these camps.
Yeah.
When I say camps, they were buildings, wooden buildings, and they were looked after pretty well, and they weren't ill-treated, they were kindly treated. And at weekends, my mum and dad, who were very Christian people, invited 2 of these prisoners of war to come to our house. And every weekend they did that. My dad would fetch them in his van and take them back. And they used to tell us about their view of the war and what happened to them and what was happening in Germany. But I don't remember too much about it, only that their names were Heinrich and Helmut. Yeah, we used to take them to chapel on a Sunday night, to the service at the chapel, and I don't know whether they liked it or not, but they were taken along anyway. So I think 1 or 2 people thought it was strange that we entertained these 2 chaps who were Germans who we were fighting.
Yeah.
But I think it was because of my parents' Christian attitude, you know, towards them that they did that. My father was in the army as well.
So, how long was he out fighting?
He was away for 5 years. But I did see him The longest time I didn't see him for was 2 years.
So what was it like after 2 years when you saw him?
Oh, well, I think we're a bit like strangers, Amy, because as I say, I'd be about your age when at that time, and being away from so long, and mother just mother looking after me and making me behave myself. He used to come all the way from the Orkney Islands, which are in the far north of Scotland, as you know, and he used to come on the train all the way, and I think it took him about 2 days.
Yeah.
And he'd bring with him something like 4 dozen eggs, and tins of butter, because rationing didn't happen in the Orkney Islands, and they were, they were all looked after themselves, had all that food up there themselves, and we were rationed, you see, and butter was particularly popular because we had only just had 2 ounces of butter a week, and we had all these eggs as well, because eggs were also rationed. And more interestingly, we also were rationed on sweets. And I was very fond of sweets.
Yeah, most kids are.
That's right. Well, he used to save up his sweet coupons, because he didn't like sweets much.
No.
And then he came home on leave with all these sweet coupons and gave them to me. So I had a real bonanza of sweets when he came home, so I used to look forward to him coming. It was only for his sweet coupons. You know, it was all happening in Africa and in Europe, all the fighting, and in the Middle East, and in many respects we're a bit too young to understand how serious it all was.
Yeah.
My mother had to go out to work.
Yeah.
Because Dad, being in the army, didn't get paid enough to keep us both.
So did you have to stay home on your own?
What happened was that Mother had to go to be at work at the co-op by 8 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And I didn't have to be at school till 9 o'clock. So she would leave home about 7:30 in the morning.
And you'd be left alone?
And I'd be left until it was time to go out. Because there it says I was a latchkey child.
Yeah.
And that meant that I had my house key, and in the winter before I went out I used to have to take down the blackout shutters, and the windows were all blacked out.
So the germs couldn't see?
That's right, the germs couldn't see lights from down below when they're up in the air, right?
Yeah.
And off I would go to school. I'd come home at about 4 or 4:30 in the afternoon, and in the winter the first thing I'd do was put the blackout shutters up again.
Yeah.
And then my mother would come home at about 6:30 or 7 o'clock at night. So all that time, apart from going next door and having my dinner, I was, and whilst I was not at school, I was home on my own.
So you were like 8 years old when this happened?
When it started, yes.
So you had to do this when you were 8?
Yes. Yeah. And that's what happened. That's probably the most insignificant thing during the war, that youngsters had to some degree, look after themselves, because father was away in the army, mother had to go out to work. So, yeah, it had its problems, of course, but...
It says that you had no bananas and no ice cream. Had you ever heard of bananas?
Yeah. Before the war, I remember having bananas mashed up with cream.
Ooh.
Yeah, and I used to love those. But then bananas were considered a bit of a delicacy.
Yeah.
And they would not be put into ships from places like Jamaica, because the ships would carry more proper food rather than delicacies.
Yeah.
So bananas and other oranges as well, we didn't get those. And I remember when ice creams came out again, probably about 2 years from the end of it, we were without them for about 3 years, ice creams. And they came to the shop near where I lived once a week, had the delivery of Wall's ice creams, and we used to wait outside the shop for the ice cream to be delivered. And then it come in these flat ones, a flat ice cream, like a wafer, you know, two-way. You know what I mean? A square, oblong-shaped ice cream. Yeah. Wrapped in paper. Yeah. And that's what that's one of the things that we were deprived of. But ice cream wasn't desperate. It was very nice to have.
No. Yeah.
So,
can you explain about American soldiers?
yes, that's another thing. During the war, there were what we call convoys of soldiers going along the main road at the top of our street.
Yeah.
And occasionally these, all these like long lines of them, you know, 40 or 50 at a time. Yeah. And all these soldiers in the back, sitting in the back of these covered wagons, covered trucks, as it were. And when they pulled up and stopped, we used to go up and used to say to them, "Got any gum, chum?" Because the Americans then always had plenty of gum, chewing gum, sticks of it, you know, the sort of long, and that's what they had. And they used to toss this gum down to us, and other bits and bobs as well, that of goodies they called them. They had sweets as well, and we all scruffy looking kids had all throw these things down to us. Oh. They had plenty of cigarettes too, but we didn't smoke cigarettes.
No.
No. The cinema was the place where you found out what the news, because you didn't have any television, like you get the news here at 6 o'clock at night, nothing like that. And the radio, you had stuff on the radio that you sat and listened to. That was the news. But news in pictures, you had to go to the cinema, and they had newsreels of what was going on. But there's a lot of stuff that was censored. That you were not supposed to, was considered not good for you to know. Perhaps if battles in the war were not going very well for the English, you wouldn't hear too much about it.
No.
And you didn't hear about a lot of the bombing either. No. Particularly in London, where devastation was very bad indeed. Blackout discs.
Yeah, you explain a bit about the blackout.
That's right, yeah.
Blackout discs?
Well, it was so dark, Amy, that you could buy a luminous disc. Now, you know what luminous is, don't you?
Yeah, it lights up.
And you stuck that to your coat. And so that when you're walking on the road, you could see people coming, because they've got a luminous disc on their on their coats like that. It was that dark. Like
a torch, but with a disc.
Yeah, and it just shone luminously. Yeah. Yeah, we had to carry our gas masks all the time, and they were over your shoulder like this, and hung by your side, and they were in a cardboard box. And everybody, children, adults, they all had to carry gas masks.
I heard that there were actually no gas attacks.
There were no gas attacks, Amy, fortunately. But there was always the fear that there might be a gas attack. And everybody would suffer badly. Because it affected their eyes and their breathing and that sort of thing. People don't necessarily die from gas attacks, but they suffer badly.
But you had to take that precaution just in case.
That's right, yeah. And everybody had a gas mask, but everybody.